So, a lot of MMA fans are saying we're in a dark period of the UFC, and the reason for this? Well, it's because the brand new crowned champions of the UFC, like Bilal Muhammad capturing the UFC Welterweight Championship, and Merab Dvalishvili capturing the Bantamweight Championship as well. Now, don't get me wrong, these guys are talented, but the fan base is split like a bad decision in a title fight, and this is for multiple reasons. You see, both Bilal and Merab aren't exactly known for their flashy knockouts or their highlight reel spinning kicks. No, their approach is more about grinding you down like you're a morning coffee, but instead of waking you up, it can sometimes put you to sleep. These guys are cardio machines who will take you down and control you and rack up the decision. In fact, Dvalishvili holds the UFC record for the most takedown attempts in a single fight. Dude went for like 49 takedowns. That's like the MMA equivalent of trying to open a jar of pickles for like 25 minutes. And fans who love a good ground game appreciate their technique, but let's be honest, this isn't exactly the explosive knockouts that you're expecting. You know what I'm saying? Like sending somebody to another kind of dimension kind of action that the casual fans kind of love. And that's where the divide happens. Half the fan base is like, wow, such control, much discipline, while the other half is screaming, can somebody please throw a spinning head kick and give me a knockout or something? A lot of people seem to have a problem with grapplers like Bilal Muhammad and Merab Dvalishvili, and it's not just because they take the fight to the ground. Honestly, it's deeper than that. It's because 95% of their fights end up going to unanimous decision or split decision. And sure, they're dominant while doing it, but people aren't sitting around hoping for a 5-round grappling clinic when they tune into a UFC fight. It's like ordering a pizza and then getting a salad. Technically good, but not exactly what you're craving for, you know? Here's the thing though, it's not the fans that hate grappling as a whole. Grappling can be amazing when it's mixed with a consistent action or an effort to finish the fight. People don't mind a good takedown as long as you're looking to lock in a submission or go for some ground and pound that threatens to end the fight. What people struggle with is when a fighter gets control on the ground and holds. Merab, for an example, is a cardio machine, but people are frustrated because for all his takedown attempts, they want to see him do something more when he takes his opponent down. Submissions, ground and pound, anything to take it beyond a wrestling match. It's almost like they're too good at their own game. Fans would likely appreciate their grappling more if it was geared towards finishing fights instead of outlasting their opponents. Imagine if every time Merab got someone to the mat, he was hunting for chokes or an armbar. That would make people think, wow, this dude is dangerous everywhere, trying to finish the fight. But right now, it feels like a lot of grapplers are just controlling for sake, rather than control with the intent to finish. And that's where the divide is happening. To put it in another way, fans would probably appreciate their ground game a lot more if they threw in some attempts to end it. That a little extra effort to finish could be what takes them from being dominant but kind of being boring. Dominant and terrifying. Take Khabib for an example. Sure, he was a grappling master, but the guy was relentless about finishing fights. When Khabib took someone down, you knew something was coming, whether it was vicious ground and pound or a submission eventually. I mean, look at the fight what he did with Conor McGregor. Khabib just didn't smother Conor, he wore him down, punished him with heavy hands, and then when Conor was finally broken, he finished it with a neck crank. That's the key difference. Khabib just didn't control, he broke opponents and then finished the job. Or think about his other fight with Dustin Poirier. He just didn't take Poirier down and laid on top of him. Khabib consistently advanced his position and then eventually choked out Poirier with a rear naked choke. Fans love Khabib because his grappling wasn't just dominant, it was dangerous. You knew that when Khabib took you down, it was just going to be a long grind. It was a countdown until you tapped out or got knocked out. Then you have Charles Oliveira, who's another brilliant example. Oliveira is a grappler too, but every time he hit the mat, he actively hunted for submissions, like a predator, stalking prey. Look at the fight with Justin Gaethje. Even after getting dropped by Gaethje's punches, Oliveira kept pushing forward and quickly turned the tables with a rear naked choke. In his fights, the ground game doesn't feel like a rest period. It feels like the most dangerous part of the fight. This is what set Khabib and Oliveira apart from guys like Merab or Bilal. Yes, they're grapplers, but they don't just aim to control, they aim to finish. And that's what the fans love. It's not the takedowns itself that get people hyped, it's just what comes after the takedown. Fans want to see the killer instincts, whether it's locking into a submission or smashing someone with a ground and pound. So when people say they're tired of the grappling era, they're really just tired of grapplers who don't seem to actively try to end the fight. Another reason why MMA fans are feeling split these days is because fan favorites like Sean O'Malley and Leon Edwards recently lost their titles, and yeah, it made a lot of people sad, but I can't help but find it kind of ironic because grapplers and wrestlers have pretty much been running the UFC for years. It's like the fans just realize now, wait a second, why are the people hugging so much? When in reality, grapplers have always been the ones that were dominating the sport. But think about it, when people like Khabib Nurmagomedov or George St. Pierre were dominating, it was all about the takedowns and ground control. Now when we see champions like Merab Dvalishvili and Belal Muhammad, who are just cardio kings grinding out their wins, it's as if people are suddenly like, wait a minute, I missed the strikers. It's like wanting the UFC to be a highlight reel knockout every time, but forgetting that the foundation of MMA is as much about the grappling as it is about the head kicks. Yes, for a hot minute, the strikers seemed to be the kings of the octagon. We had people like Israel Adesanya and Leon Edwards taking out opponents, but let's be real, wrestling and grappling in general have always been the bread and butter of MMA. We just had a brief striking honeymoon phase, and now with the wrestlers reclaiming the top of the sport, it's almost like the fans are realizing that they've been in a grappling relationship the whole time, and they're not quite sure how they feel about it. So yeah, while some fans are shedding tears over the beloved strikers losing, I'm just laughing because it's like, did you guys forget that this is MMA? Wrestlers were never really gone. They just took a coffee break, if anything. And now they're back, taking down opponents and taking belts. If you take a good look at the UFC landscape right now, most of the champions are grapplers, and honestly, it's kind of wild. You got Pantoja, a flyweight, who's a rock'em sock'em type of grappler. Then we got Merab Dvalishvili at bantamweight. We already know what he does, shooting 50 takedowns in a single fight. Even Ilia Topuria, who prefers to box your head off, has solid grappling if he decides to use it. Then there's Islam Makhachev. The guy can strike, sure, but his grappling is his bread and butter. Belal Muhammad, straight up wrestling machine. Dricus du Plessis, yeah, he loves to brawl, but don't sleep on his wrestling either. And then we got Alex Pereira, the pure kickboxer. Tom Aspinall, the dude can strike and grapple, but with the way he's knocking people out, he's more like a knockout artist with a grappling degree on the side. Now, I know a lot of people are saying that this era sucks because they don't see as many flashy knockouts or loudmouth stars, but let's be real, that's just people talking shit and being a little dramatic. The truth is, we've still got some serious killers in the game. Pantoja brings it most of the time. Topuria is out here knocking out people left and right. Dricus is always ready to throw down, and Alex Pereira is a deadly striker as they come. And there's Tom Aspinall, who can literally choke you out or put your lights out. It's a really pick your poison situation with that guy. At the end of the day, the game is evolving, and yeah, there's a lot of grapplers, but that doesn't mean it's boring. It just means you gotta appreciate the mix of styles. I mean, after all, this isn't kickboxing, this is MMA, and there's still plenty of fireworks, just in different forms now. And as a fan, I see it as part of the sport. I appreciate every aspect of MMA, and sure, it can be boring at times, but no sport is perfect. I mean, the same thing could be said about boxing. Occasionally you get a dull or an uneventful fight. It just happens. With all that being said, that is my opinion on the matter, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you guys did, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.